Falling in Reverse recently kicked off their God is a Weapon tour, named after that recent collaboration with Marilyn Manson. The song has been a big success for the band, with over 20 million views on the music video right here on YouTube in just over 2 months. This makes it the biggest hard rock music video thus far of 2025. But in recent days, there's been quite the shitstorm stirred up surrounding that tour, following a recent report from Lambgoat that alleged that a show cancellation in Austin, Texas was as a result of low ticket sales. Now, vocalist Ronnie Radke has vehemently denied that allegation and has gone on the offensive against Lambgoat, lashing out at them for what he says is a completely false report. So in this video, I want to look at this situation, look at sort of what the standard operating procedure is for a Live Nation tour, and what they would do in the event of low ticket sales for a band as big as Falling in Reverse, how all of this works to the best of my knowledge, and let's just find out what exactly happened. Now, obviously, Ronnie Radke here is a friend of the show, but regardless of that, at the end of the day, if the show was canceled as a result of low ticket sales or wasn't canceled as a result of low ticket sales, that's ultimately all that matters here in this situation. But first, I want to add a little bit of personal information that I have, in all fairness to Ronnie here, because a couple of weeks ago, before this situation surfaced surrounding that Austin, Texas show, I actually had a text exchange. So forgive me for revealing this, but it is relevant to the situation. Ronnie, well over a week before that revelation of the Austin show cancellation, I was discussing with him about coming out to a show in Bristow, Virginia, and he informed me then that that show was actually going to be canceled because of the consecutive shows that were going to have an impact on his voice. There's been people that claim that he's lip syncing live. He does actually sing live, and so he's very concerned about having too many shows. This is a really long tour. This is a lot of shows they're doing, and he has to have adequate time off, because if not, there's going to be shows that are inevitably canceled anyways. But if you have a vocal straining issue, as he has dealt with in the past, as every vocalist has dealt with in the past, ultimately you're going to have numerous cancellations as a result of just one. So this is a stamina situation. You're on this really long tour. Obviously, he's been working hard, getting in shape and all of that. And so if you have too many shows happening at once, it's certainly going to wear on your voice. So he told me about a separate show, about his intention to end up canceling that show because of the vocal strain issue, which he is now saying is the reason for the cancellation of this Austin, Texas show. Now, with the Live Nation tour, which is what this is, we've all talked about Live Nation, the owner of Ticketmaster, very controversial company, but also a company that has been incredibly successful over the years. They're not just a tour promoter, but they typically own or operate most, if not all, of the venues that are on their tours. This is a subject of controversy, but in the context of this particular tour, it's worth noting that typically speaking, when a Live Nation tour is taking place and they're playing Live Nation venues, if you're the owner of the venue, you wouldn't even need to cancel a show because of low ticket sales, because you own the venue, so you're not going to lose money. What would your motivation be to actually cancel the show? And that is because these tours, typically from Live Nation, are providing upfront advances or money to the artists, regardless of whether or not they are actually generating ticket sales. And it's somewhat of a strategic advantage that Live Nation has, because they're the owners of these venues, that it's not a loss, or if it is a loss, it's not a big loss for them. It doesn't matter if it doesn't sell a lot of tickets, because they already own the venue. So they're not actually putting up money for that to happen. So I have been to shows at amphitheaters that haven't sold well, and I have literally seen them just move the lawn seats into the seats themselves and then just shut the lawn off. This seems like something they commonly do. Of course, admittedly, look, I don't have firsthand knowledge of Live Nation policies. I'm not speaking for them. This is just from my own experience as someone who's been going to shows my entire life. So this is what I see. I go to several shows a week. And so they have a number of options that you'll see from Live Nation. They may do something like that. In this case, it wasn't relevant. We've already seen these Falling in Reverse shows. They're selling thousands and thousands and thousands of tickets. I've got images up on your screen from their recent shows. Without a doubt, this tour is doing exceptionally well, which is particularly impressive because we're in more of a strained economy. Now, over the last several years, we've seen shows selling out left and right. The reality is, I talk to artists all the time. That is not what is happening right now. They are seeing a reduction across the board in ticket sales, but with that in mind, you're still not seeing at the amphitheater level, oh, we're just going to cancel this show because of low ticket sales. And we just saw Falling in Reverse in Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas, a couple hours away from Austin, Texas. And Texas in general is typically a very hot market for rock music tours. So what you're seeing here is huge shows in Dallas, huge shows out there in Denver, Colorado. The idea that 2 hours away from Dallas, Texas, Falling in Reverse wouldn't sell enough tickets to even put the show on at a venue that's operated by Live Nation is a little difficult to believe. And on top of that, now there's another thing that is commonly done when a venue isn't selling enough tickets before you get to the step of cancellation. Live Nation's a really smart company. They're going to probably do something like downgrade the venue before they cancel it outright. So I think Ronnie, what he is saying here, whether you like him or not, I do genuinely believe he's telling the truth about this. And Ronnie is the type of person, he's going to say what is true, regardless whether or not you want to hear it, regardless of whether or not it gets him in trouble. And he gets very frustrated when people are saying things about him that he is vehemently denying, and he's adamant that they are untrue. So the question here is whether or not this show was actually canceled as a result of low ticket sales. Again, I want to say Ronnie is a friend of the show, but with anyone, I'm not going to get up here and say something if it is not factual, if it is not accurate. These shows are doing exceptionally well. I have been to numerous Falling in Reverse shows. If you look at all of the anecdotal evidence around you surrounding this band, really strong performance of their singles, really strong engagement on social media across all platforms, and now massive turnout at the other dates on this tour, I would suggest that it is very reasonable to believe that this Falling in Reverse show wasn't canceled as a result of low ticket sales, but rather with what Ronnie is saying to begin with, that this was actually done, as he's showing in this screenshot here with who I believe is his manager, which he published online, showing that these cancellations took place as a result of too many shows happening consecutively. And look, in all fairness, I gotta say, he told me the same thing several weeks ago, that he intended to cancel a few shows because there were too many lined up. Some people I've seen asking, look, well, why didn't you verify this to begin with? When you're in a band, you're ambitious, you're a hard charger, you're going, let's go all the way. And then, upon further review, sometimes you can go, look, maybe this one was a little too ambitious and we've got to make some adjustments and some changes. And of course, every fan that bought a ticket was fully refunded. So when you look at Live Nation's past track record, they have a variety of different ways they address purported low ticket sales, whether it's moving the lawn into the seats, whether it is downgrading the venue. But when they're owning or operating most, if not all, of the venues, they're not taking a loss, even if, hypothetically, a band had low ticket sales, because they own the houses where the performances are taking place. On top of that, in a recent report just several weeks ago from Live Nation themselves, on their official account, they specifically cited data that showed an increase in rock music ticket sales, while specifically citing Falling in Reverse by name as an example as one of the biggest ticket movers in rock music right now. I think it's fair to say that Falling in Reverse is one of the biggest ticket movers currently in rock. And so I understand why Ronnie has the frustration that he has. He's vehemently denying this. Obviously, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments down below. So in closing, I just want to say, if it were true that Falling in Reverse canceled a show due to low ticket sales, I don't really see why that's a big deal to even admit that, because look at all the other shows. There's huge turnout. We know this. We see this. There are videos. It's clear. So by any measure in this economy, when you're able to get thousands and thousands of fans to show up to your concert, especially if you're not a legacy act who's been around for 30 years, this is an impressive feat for anybody. And as you all know, I have been very critical of Live Nation, but in all fairness to them, they are citing themselves, Falling in Reverse, as an example of a band that has contributed to the rise of ticket sales and performance of rock shows in the genre. So I'm curious to hear what you all think down in the comments below. As always, be sure to subscribe with notifications on for the latest news and updates about your favorite bands right here at Rockfeed.